And welcome back. George Norrie with you, Karen Anderson with us. Karen, what techniques do you recommend individuals use to try to communicate with the animals on the other side?
Well, I think the most important thing is to just get in a quiet place. And I always use a photograph, but of course you have the memory of your pet in your mind, so that's all you really need. And just set your intention of what your message is that you want to send them, whether it be love or joy or whatever you want to share with them. It really is just a mind-to-mind thought. It's as simple as a text message from your heart to theirs.
So there's no special technique or some secret behind this?
I wish there was, but it's really that simple.
Interesting. And what do you use? What did you use in the beginning to do your communication? Or did it just happen?
I had to really struggle because being a police officer at the time, it went against everything I was trained. Unless you have proof and evidence, you don't have a case. So I really had to untrain my brain to expand, to believe in things that maybe I couldn't see or I couldn't touch. So you really have to believe. You have to be a believer. You have to want it to happen. And you truly have to just be open to whatever you receive, because it's not like talking to a human. Animals don't communicate with us in the English language that we speak. So your pet may send you something such as the image of an object, and it may not make sense to you at the time, but maybe later on it'll suddenly hit you as to what that was. For instance, I get an image one time about pipes bursting, of all things. And sure enough, the client that I was speaking to at the time, he had a flood in his basement, and the pet from the other side saw this and was commenting about the pipes bursting. Didn't quite understand what it was all about, but I saw the image of the water leaking.
And this guy had no idea it was leaking, did he?
Well, it was something that had happened recently, so he was well aware, and he was trying to remedy the situation, and it was a big mess because the basement got flooded. So even on the other side, our animals know what's going on in our lives. They know when our basements flood. They know when we change careers. They know when we get a new hairdo, when we get a new pair of glasses. I just recently had a client from 15 years ago. She reached out to me and said she listened back to her recording again, and she couldn't believe that her cat was so excited, pointing about ears, talk about the ears. And what was so special about the ears is that this cat was born deaf and lived for 17 wonderful years. But when he got over on the other side, of course, he has the ability to hear. He's whole again, of course, not with the physical body, but in the psychic sense, he can hear. So he was all excited about his ears. So you just never know what they're going to talk about.
Do you recommend that if an animal dies in a family, that the family immediately go out and try to replace that animal with another one?
There's a lot of controversy about that, and I've heard both sides of the story. And the first thing I want to be really clear is that your departed companions never feel that they are being replaced. They actually benefit from the love that you share with another pet in the household. Because when your heart is happy, they are happy. They benefit from that loving feeling and all the excitement and happiness and joy that the new pet brings. So don't ever worry about feeling like you're replacing your beloved companion, because they don't feel that way. That's a human concept.
Let's go to the phones. First-time caller Alan is with us, truck driving across the Texas Panhandle. Hi, Alan. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Karen. First of all, thank you for your service in law enforcement. That is awesome. My son is active duty Army right now. When he gets out in 2 years, he's going straight into the police department here in Amarillo, Texas. And thank you so much. But I have a question. The company I was with prior to where I'm at now had a company. We were out in the outside of Amarillo, Texas, in the country. We had a stray dog that showed up one day. He and I hit it off from day one, and became best of buddies. We did everything together. We all the guys called him Bob. I called him Robert Marley. So it was Robert Bob Marley. Well, the vet thought he was about 2 years old when he showed up. I took him to the vet, got him checked out and everything, and I had him for almost 11 years before he passed away. He some of the things that happened, about a month after he showed up, he came in the shop one day, laid down on the floor, and was licking his leg. I walked over to him and noticed a little bit of blood. He tried to stand up, and his leg was broken. Took him to the hospital. He had a major surgery putting his leg back together. 2 weeks later, I broke my leg. Had the same surgery that he had, except for I didn't have 4 pins like he did. But we were together so much. He went everywhere with me. He went to work with me. He went to Walmart with me, everywhere. And when he passed away from bone cancer that developed in his leg where he broke his leg. And I was just wondering, is he okay? Do you know, is there any way of making contact with him? Earlier, George, you mentioned how often do you grieve? There's not a day go by that I don't think about Bob. We do have another standard poodle now. His name is Boo Ridley. He's a million times different from Bob. Bob was laid back, martini cigar type dog, and Boo is off the charts crazy. And I still miss Bob so much, you know. And
I truly appreciate everything that you're saying, and I'm sitting here smiling because this is just such a beautiful story. And truly, the one thing, Alan, that you have to realize is that this is obviously you guys knew each other in a past lifetime, because I'm seeing what looks like DNA strands to me. When I see a DNA strand, what that shows me is that you've had numerous past lives together. So that would explain why you instantly hit it off, like you got along with each other right away. When we recognize on a soul level, it's as if we've never been apart, and things just fall into place. And just the similarities between your personalities and him going everywhere with you, the leg breaks, I mean, that just is an incredible story. And I promise you, 100%, you do not have to worry about Bob in the afterlife. You do not have to worry about if he's okay or not. He's okay because you love him. That makes it okay.
Is the dream state, Karen, one of the best areas in order to communicate with your pet?
No, actually, just say it. Just talk to them. George, if you talk to your pets like they're still there, because they are energetically. You know, the afterlife is a parallel universe, a parallel dimension that overlaps our world. So they really are around us. They're near us. They're in their favorite spots. So when you talk to them like they're still there, they hear you. They feel the love in your heart. They get excited, and they love it. It's like Christmas. It's like their birthday every time you think about them. So just talk about them, even quietly in your mind, just a thought about them. They absolutely love that. You never have to worry about a beloved companion in the afterlife. It's the ones that are here. These are the ones that really need our prayers and our help, because they're the ones that still experience physical pain. And the ones in the afterlife, no, they are absolutely perfect.
How often do you think Bob the dog is in the cab with Alan when he drives his truck?
He's probably with him right now. So, Alan, just talk to him out loud. Tell him how much you love him. Tell him how much you miss him. And I promise you, he will hear every single word. Your heart speaks true.
Let's go to Susie in Dayton, Ohio. Welcome to the show. Hi, Suze.
Hey, George, and thank you so much for this segment of the show. You have answered a lot of my questions. I do want to say that I adopted 3 Chihuahuas,
good for you.
siblings, and one of them, she passed away at 4 years old, and my husband, I was in Alaska at the time, and my husband had to make the decision to
euthanize.
Yeah, and I hate to say that because every single second of my life, I miss her. I wanted to ask your guest speaker, is it wrong for me to ask her to come back to me? I want her back. Is that wrong?
You know, that's a beautiful question, Susan. I am so sorry for your loss. I have Chihuahuas too, so you know what? They have a giant piece of my heart. And I will tell you, it's not wrong to want to have your beloved companion back, but I will share with you a little bit of insight about that. It's when they come back, they may just have an essence of who they were. They're not going to be a clone. It's not going to be your little angel the way that you exactly remember her, because it's a new body, it's a new time, it's a new space, a new place, new experiences. So you have to understand that reincarnation is not a clone of who you're missing. So if you do invite her back, just be open to her in whatever shape she takes and whatever level of essence she comes back into your life. And absolutely invite her back. Tell her if it's the right spiritual path for her, the right spiritual path for you. You welcome her back into your life again.
Fascinating, Karen. It really is. And when you made this discovery 20-some years ago to do this, what was the most compelling reason you jumped, Karen, into this?
You know, it was a very, very powerful moment that I had where obviously I'm an animal lover. I get very emotional when I talk about my companions, but they have truly guided me on this journey, and I've learned so much from them, George, more than I have learned from anyone else, and so much about life and the afterlife. And it was a message from one of my beloved companions that was in a health situation. His words were so clear in my head, and I had never had this experience before. I heard him tell me, but it was in my voice. He told me that he was having a medical emergency. He said, "I'm blocked," meaning he had a urinary blockage, and his body was going septic. And I heard the words in my head, "I'm blocked," and I thought, what the heck? I literally looked around the room to see who was in there with me, because I heard it as clearly as you and I are speaking.
Jeez.
And it turned out to be a life-saving message. I was able to save his life. That's powerful. So when it happens to you, it's life-changing. When you hear me, talk about my crazy stories, you think, I don't know if it's true or not. But when it actually happens to you and you experience it for yourself, it is utterly and totally life-changing.
Tony, truck driving in Nebraska, is with us now. Hi, Tony. Go ahead.
Hi, George. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Oh, you're coming out? Great.
Yeah, I'm flying out from California.
Excellent.
So I'll see you again. I have two quick questions and a little statement. The dog that I have right now, it seems like, I don't know, she doesn't know dog stuff, but she knows human stuff, and she knows what to do with human things. She'll come in the house and she'll bark at one of my family members, and they'll look at me and say, "Well, what does she want?" And then she'll look at me, and I'm able to tell if she's thirsty, hungry, or wants to go outside or whatever. And I don't know if that's just because I know her, or if it's because that she's like communicating with me, because she'll look me right in the eye like she's saying something to me, So that's my statement. And the question is do dogs know about time, and do you believe in reincarnations for pets?
Okay. So, Tony, great questions. And first of all, yes, she is communicating with you. And yes, you are doing exactly what I do. You are tuning into each other on an energetic level. Now, energy, you can't see it. So it's invisible, like your cell phone connecting to whoever you're calling. You don't see that connection, but it's happening. So you guys are connecting. You are picking up on her thoughts and her wants and her wishes. Aside from the physical cues, that's absolutely animal communication. You are stealing my job, is what you're doing. And absolutely, there is, I believe in reincarnation, but I didn't in the beginning. I thought it was all a bunch of hooey. But after I kept hearing from the animals about reincarnation, and then and the validations that would come through from their pet parents talking about it, I became more of a believer, and now I'm completely 100% convinced. And I forgot the other one. What was the other question?
Time and reincarnation.
Oh, time. There is no time in the afterlife. There's no clocks, no calendars. There's no linear time. So this is really important for anyone who has lost a companion. If you weren't there to say goodbye, it's okay. There's no time. So to your companions, they don't judge how long it's taken you to say how sorry you were that you weren't there, or how much you missed them, or that you wish you could have been there. Tell them right now. Tell them how you feel. Tell them that you love them, that they mean the world to you. Time does not matter in the afterlife.
Karen, is grief healthy?
Yes, absolutely. It's not fun, but I think it's part of life. If you are grieving deeply, you have loved deeply. Grief is just a reflection of love.
How long should somebody grieve, technically?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, there comes a point where enough is enough, right?
Well, I'm not a grief expert, but I will say that as your heart tells you when you're ready, and I think we're all different, and don't let anybody tell you that it's been too long, other than if you're not taking care of yourself and your loved ones or your other companions. I mean, truly, there comes a point where you have to really take self-care and love yourself again, because that's what your companions want from you. They don't want to see you in that dark place. They feel that pain. It doesn't hurt them, but they feel it. And George, would you rather hang out with somebody that's sad and depressed all the time, or would you rather hang out with someone that's upbeat and happy and joyful and loving life?
You want to be with somebody who is upbeat, of course. That's human nature.
The same goes for animals. They would rather be around us when we are that happy, joyful, loving life. They won't leave us during our darkest hours. In fact, they're right there by our side. But they want us to live our life because they are perfect. They're fine. They're with us. They're around us. They send us signs and messages all the time. And they truly want us to be fulfilled and happy.
The Pet I Can't Forget, where do people get your book?
Amazon. Coming soon to Audible.
Excellent. Are you going to be the voice of Audible?
No, because they say I sound like a 12-year-old.
You don't. You don't.
Thank you.
And your website is your name that we have?
Yeah, it's very simple, KarenAnderson.net. I do have one small little thing to add. All the proceeds from my books and my animal communication courses go directly to my nonprofit animal sanctuary, Painted Rain Ranch. I have a 30-acre animal sanctuary where I have a final refuge for all the abandoned, unwanted, elderly, and special needs animals that I can.
Let's talk a little bit about them when we come back on Coast to Coast with final questions. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie back with Karen Anderson, and we'll take your calls with our final segment. Karen, before we go to final calls, tell us more about this animal sanctuary you put together.
Well, I decided to really take my love for animals, and especially the ones that are unwanted, overlooked, or have health issues. So I created an animal sanctuary. We're a final refuge, meaning when they come here, they stay here. They live as part of our family. They never get adopted out. They never have to be rehomed. This becomes their final resting place. And it is the joy of my life. So I am a full-time animal caretaker.
Good for you. It makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, because there's a lot of animals that are in shelters. They get overlooked because they have, long health issues with problems or behavioral problems, or they're missing a limb or an eye or an ear. And you know what? I just don't care. I love them all, and they all deserve love, and they're usually in the shelter because of a human, not because of something they did, but because of a human. And I just want to give them a good life. So I have devoted myself to caring for these special needs animals, and there's nothing better in the world than making life better for them because they enrich my life so much.
Back to the calls west of the Rockies. Chad's with us in North Dakota. Hello, Chad.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing, Chad.
I know I didn't know I was going to get on. Anyway, I know everything's got to be short and sweet.
That's okay.
I was curious about, I'm 51 years old. I had 2 dogs, a bird, 4 baby raccoons, and a couple gerbils when I was still back in high school, basically. So when I die, am I going to come across all of that, even though I barely remember them? Or
will there be a reunion with his animals, Karen?
They will be there waiting for you, and it will be as if no time has passed at all. And it's truly an incredible experience to see this happen. It's almost like the best reunion you can imagine, and magnify that by 1,000 times. So yes, all the animals that you had as a child, and even if you weren't maybe the best caretaker, I know I went through some tropical fish, and we had hamsters, and maybe I wasn't the best caretaker, but you know what? They don't judge. They're there to just join back up with us again on the other side, and it's truly magical. So absolutely, they will be there waiting for you.
I mean, will a frog go to the other side, too, when it dies? Everything
will be there.
It's really remarkable. Matthew in Montana, take it away. Hi, Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call, George.
Sure thing, my friend. Thank you.
One of the previous caller's questions was what I was thinking, too, was do animals know what time is right now when they're alive? And then I was just wondering, Karen, if is there anything my dog wants me to know? Can you pick up on that? Or?
Well, I can tell you, Matt, that the one thing that is important to know about animals is that they care about, their number one thing that they care about the most is themselves. Their second most important things they care about is themselves, and the third most important thing they care about is themselves. So you can do the very best for your companions by taking very good care of them. They are absolutely 100% devoted to us, even when we aren't the best parents. I know I've missed a few medications and done some things that maybe I would do over again. But remember, they'll never judge you. They will love you 100%. And just tell them that. Don't go another day without telling them how you feel about them. Express it. And just let them know the joy that they bring into your life. They need to hear that. Just like I need to hear that from my loved ones, our companion animals need to hear that and feel that from us. So make your bond even stronger by telling your pets out loud how you feel about them. Even the ones that have passed on, it doesn't matter. They will still be able to feel that love just as if it was happening, if they were still here and it was happening with them right here.
Next up, let's go to Andrea in San Diego, California. Hi, Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so fantastic to hear your voice for real, because I've listened to you since I was a little girl.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So I was calling in particular about my son, and I have one additional comment or question. But I have a 24-year-old, and we had a red-bone coonhound from the time he was 8 until he was about 22. And he's just heartbroken, years. And he has not taken her dog bed away from the foot of his bed. And I adopted 2 more dogs. Our neighbor kept coming over, and they kicked him out, so now we have 3. And a pit bull came to our house. We thought we took it back. It came back crying in the night. We let it in. It has 12 puppies, and 9 are surviving.
Wow.
He's with them day in, day out. They're 3 days old now, but he hasn't left Mama's side. He's helping nurse. Every time one crawls too far, he brings it back. You know, I'm feeding, he's doing the mama care. but how to help him remedy this broken heart he has.
Your son.
Anyway. Uh-huh.
Grief. How does he handle the grief, Karen?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, I think he's doing the right thing, actually, because the best way that I have found to work through my grief is to help another animal, is to open my heart and allow myself to process those feelings by making life better for maybe a less advantaged animal, somebody who really needs the help. You know, grief isn't an illness. It's not a disease. It's not something that we cure. It's something that we process. It's something that we experience, and it's something that we've earned. I don't think that grief is all bad. I think that there's a lot of good aspects about grief. It sure teaches us to be more appreciative of our loved ones, especially after we lose somebody special to us. So I think just helping him focus and point all of that energy into something positive, such as helping other animals, even shelter animals, going and walking the dogs at the local shelter. That's a great way to process your grief.
What if you can't get rid of the grief, Karen? It just lingers and stays. What do you do then?
You know, I think for a lot of people, that is a reality. And it really breaks my heart because the animals tell me that it isn't necessary for us to live that way.
They want us to let go, don't they?
They want us to let go, George. They don't need us to be in that state of mind. It doesn't serve them, and it doesn't serve us. So if we could get into the mindset of letting go of that, like I said, redirecting it into something, find something that you can do for yourself or another animal or another person, or think about your animal's legacy. What did your animal bring to your life? If they brought you companionship, then George, go out and be a companion for somebody who's lonely. If they brought you unconditional love, then be that kind of person to someone else. Show unconditional love. Live the legacy that your pet brought to you during their life. That's how you can honor them, and that's how you can help work through that grief. And you can also connect with a professional grief counselor. Some people find that that's very helpful. Grief support groups. There's a lot of them out there now. So, you know, everyone's different. You just have to find what works for you.
Hugo's with us in Illinois. Hugo, welcome to the program.
Hey, George, how you doing? Hey, Karen, how you doing?
Hi.
We can share something in common. I'm a police officer currently right now, so.
Well, thank you.
I understand where you're coming from, but this month, it's going to be 2 years that I lost my little Dotsy named Woody, and I grieve a lot. And he euthanized him, and he was in my arms. We euthanized him at my house because I didn't want him to take him to the veterinarian office. I wanted him to be comfortable in my house, and we have a little Chihuahua, and sometimes I feel that my Chihuahua also grieves, and I know he does because we buried him outside, and for the first week, my Chihuahua, in the morning when I let him out, he will run straight to the spot where I buried Woody. His name was Woody.
Wow.
But I'm having a hard time getting over it because I felt that we were attached. But also, there's times that I'm in the house, and in the corner of my eye, sometimes I think I see him. And then I think I dream about him. I wake up and I tell my wife, I think I dreamt about Woody. I'm not sure. Or there's times that I'm in the house and in the corner of my eye, I think I see him, and I just kind of acknowledge him. I'm like, well, maybe that was Woody, or was that Woody? And am I wrong for doing that? And how can I work on myself to communicate with animals? Because I've been feeling it in my heart that I want to do that, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Does Woody make himself known, Karen? Is he spotting Woody on the side of his eye?
I'm so excited right now. First of all, Hugo, thank you for your service. I am very, very sorry for your loss. And to all the listeners, I'm so sorry for the loss of your beloved companions. It truly changes us when we have to say goodbye. But yes, Hugo, you are seeing him. I write about this in my book, The Pet I Can't Forget. You are seeing into his dimension. So never doubt those manifestations. Those are real. Just as if you were sitting in a chair, Woody is there in the house with you or wherever you saw them, coming to you in your dreams. Those are visitations, and you should be so excited. And tell him you love it. Do it again. Show me something else. Send me another sign. The more you lean into that, the more your animals will send signs. And it's so easy to learn how to do, to send messages, to be in that wavelength with them. There's no magic. There's no secret, George. There's no, fairy dust I have to sprinkle on you. It's so simple. And if you are interested in that, please go to my website. I have an app. I have free training. I have a Facebook group. Their steps are so simple. And when you receive a message, a clear message, oh my gosh, it will move you so much faster into healing. It's just incredible when it happens.
Karen, does a living animal grieve for a dying animal?
Absolutely. And the story Hugo shared was perfect about his little chihuahua going over to where Woody was buried. Absolutely, they grieve. And some of them can see the spirits of their departed friends. If you notice that the animals that remain, they'll look down the hallway or they'll stare up at the ceiling, because spirit energies like to gather in corners of rooms, especially in the upper corners. So animals are really good at seeing those spirit energies visiting us.
Let's go to Debbie in Tustin, California. Hey, Deb, go ahead.
Hi, George. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
I am grieving a cat that I lost over 3.5 years ago, but I think I'm going to ask you about my other cat that I had before her, which she only lived for a few years. Her name was Sasha. And I was living with an alcoholic boyfriend and naively trying to find things that would help him. And I got him we started helping out at an animal shelter, and there was this kitten who was always in the corner, hissing and everything, and not very endearing. And they were concerned that nobody was going to adopt her. They found her frightened and abandoned on the street. And my boyfriend fell in love with her and wanted to adopt her. I didn't want to, but I thought maybe that would help him naively. So we adopted her, and she was the sweetest little thing. And I took her in a blanket and took her all around the house and showed her everything and tried to make her feel comfortable, and kept her in the bathroom for a couple of days because she was just hissing, all that at you. And then one night when the door was open while I was sleeping, I woke up and there she was, cuddled up into the crevice of my waist on my bed. And she was supposed to be his cat, and she turned out to be mine. And she had a tumultuous life living with this alcoholic guy, and I eventually moved away from him and temporarily was living with someone else. And I was looking for a place to live, and there was this cat outside that kept, I guess, had a thing for her or something, and she would look out the window from the inside the apartment and scream at this cat. And while I was sleeping one night, she woke me up screaming at this cat. And while I went back to sleep, when I woke up in the morning, the other window, which was very high up, and I don't know how she got out, but the screen was pushed out, and she had to have leapt through the window. And I could not go out and look for her because I had a very mean boss and could not afford to lose my job.
Did you ever get her back?
She ended up, later on that day, I got a call from a very nice woman who told me that she had been killed by a car in a parking lot.
Oh, God, that's sad. We are out of time, Karen. Keep in touch with us. The name of the book is The Pet I Can't Forget by Karen Anderson, whose website is linked up at coasttocoastam.com. Just remarkable stories about animals. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladassour, Stephanie Smith, Chris Boros, Tim Banal, George Knapp, and Ian Punnett, I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone.